Okay, so we are going to get the x by itself. So the first step is to simplify. So we're going to go ahead and combine our like terms. So we can combine 8x and negative 2x. So we have an 8 plus a negative 2. So that makes positive 6x. And then plus 10. And then we bring down the inequality sign. And then step 2, we're going to highlight the variable. So we're going to cover up the variable and get rid of the other number here. So the number I'm highlighting, I don't want to touch. I'm going to leave that there. And if I have a positive 10, I have to take 10 away. So I have a negative 5 plus I added a negative 10. That makes negative 15 over here. And then when this is all by itself, that is when we do the last step, which is divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. Now, since we're dividing by a positive here, we don't need to switch the sign. So it's going to stay going the same way. So even though this number is negative here, it's only if, so if we read our notes carefully here, it says, when you are dividing both sides by a negative, so both sides by a negative, this is only this side that has a negative. So it's, you only switch it if both of these that I'm putting underneath are negative. So that's why we're not switching it. So in the previous problem, we're dividing by a negative, and that's why we had to flip the symbol. So this one, it's not going to change. We're going to keep it the same. So then we have a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 3 goes into both of these. So we can simplify it to negative 5/2. Now if we use a calculator, we have negative 15 divided by 6. Okay, that's a decimal. The directions didn't say we can't have a decimal, so we could also put x is less than negative 2.5. So both of these are good answers. If I want to change it to a fraction, second FD. So this is the mixed number version. So it's negative 2 space 1/2. So negative 2.5. And then if I click second ABC, there's that version. So this has 3 different ways to write the answer: the mixed number version, improper version, decimal version. So the directions to the notes said only 1 through 4 had to be integers or fractions. So since it didn't say, either of these would be excellent solutions. So now set builder. Set builder is where you put these little brackets, and then the variable is x, so you put x, and then you put a vertical line, that means such that, and then pick whichever one you want. I'm going to go with the decimal. I'm going to go ahead and put this one here. But you could put this one here or this one. It's up to you. Okay, so now to graph it, I'm going to put the negative 2.5 on my graph, or you could put negative 5/2 or negative 2.5, your choice. And then I'm going to look at the symbol. This symbol right here doesn't have the line underneath. So that's how I know I'm going to use a parenthesis. So if we look at our notes again, we said when it doesn't have the little line underneath, you're going to use an open circle or you're going to use parentheses. So if I want, I could put an open circle here. And I'm going to change it to a parenthesis in a moment. And now I'm going to read my answer. This says, shade all the numbers that are less. So this looks like an L for left. So I'm going to shade all the numbers that are less. So the smaller numbers on a number line are over here. So since I'm shading over here, that's how I know that the parenthesis has to go that way. Okay, So now I'm ready to write my answer in interval notation. So remember, to write your answer in interval notation, you always go from the left to the right. So I look at the graph and I go left. So on the left side here, it's going on and on and on and on and on and on. It keeps going and going and going and going. Well, the numbers over here are the negative numbers. So I'm going to put negative infinity, and then parentheses always go around infinity. Then I'm going to put a comma, and then I go to the right and it stops at negative 2.5. And there's a parenthesis there. So I put a parenthesis here. And so again, that is called interval notation. It means all the numbers to the left of negative 2.5 could be numbers that we plug in for x. That's what this is saying. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our next problem here. So the very first step here is we want to simplify. We have parentheses, so we're going to distribute. So 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Okay, now I'm going to bring down the symbol, and then the negative 5x plus 8 gets brought down. And then the next step is to cover up the variable, but I have more than one. I can't have that. So I'm going to get rid of one of them. It doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to go ahead and do minus 2x, minus 2x. So then if we combine like terms here, because these two are together, that would make negative 5 plus a negative 2. That would make negative 7x here, plus 8 is greater than negative 6. So now I can cover up the variable and get rid of that number right next to it. So I'm going to subtract 8. And then I have negative 6. Whoops, negative 6 plus I added a negative 8 on. That makes negative 14. And then whenever there's a number right next to x, it's called a coefficient. We're going to divide both sides by a negative 7. Oh, we just said we're dividing by a negative. So that's how I know this is going to have to flip. The sign is going to flip. And then negative 14 divided by negative 7, that's positive 2. Okay, now I'm going to do this problem again. And this time, instead of subtracting 2x to get rid of this, I'm going to add 5x. I'm going to get rid of this number on the left. See how I'm doing it different here? So I'm going to add 5x to both sides. Okay, so then I'm going to add 6 to both sides. I want to get the x, this all by itself. So add 6. And then lastly, I divide by the number next to the x that's being multiplied. So I'm going to divide by 7. 14 divided by 7 is 2. So do you notice we get 2 either way we do it. We're getting the same answer here. But the only thing that's different here is that here the x is first and here the x is second. If you want to not make a mistake on this problem, you want to be less likely to make a mistake, you should always tell yourself that you want the x to go first on the left. So if you did your problem this way, your x is second. So before you do this part of the problem, you are less likely to make a mistake if you just take a moment and rewrite it so the x is first. But notice that the mouth, the wide part, is going to the 2. So I'm going to change it correctly. I'm not switching the sign. The little tip is to the X. Same thing here. These are the exact same answers. And as you could see, they match. These are the exact same answer. This is saying all the numbers for X should be less than 2. This is saying X should be less than 2. So 2 is greater than all the other numbers for X. So these say the same thing. So if you want to be less likely to make a mistake, always read it with the X first. Okay, so now set builder notation. I'm going to put the squiggle lines. I'm going to put X such that, and then I'm going to put one of these. It doesn't matter which one because they're the same. I'm going to put it right here. Okay, now I'm ready to graph. So I'm going to put the 2 on the graph, and then I'm going to put an open circle. It doesn't have the line and the problem over here. It doesn't have the line underneath, so I'm not going to shade in the circle. I'm going to leave it open. And then this says, shade all the numbers that are less, or L for left. So all the numbers that are less are over here. So that's how I know that I need a parenthesis here. So I'm going to go, when I do interval notation, remember that's left to right. So on the left side, it's going infinitely, and these numbers here, so if this is 2, then you're going to have 1, 0, -1, -2. These numbers here that are shaded are going to eventually touch the negative numbers. That's why we're going to put a negative here. We always put a parenthesis around infinity, a comma, and then as you go to the right, it stops at 2. Okay, so this is saying any number that is smaller than 2 can go in for X in this problem here and here. That's what this is saying.